Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down with D. Gary Young, the founder of Young Living. With hundreds of products, millions of distributors worldwide, and the most advanced essential oil distilleries in North America, Young Living truly is the world leader in essential oils and wellness solutions. He's a passionate innovator, business leader, husband, father, and friend. In this exclusive, full-length interview with Gary Young, we discuss a few things. Number one, manning up in business. Number two, pressing past obstacles and negative influences. Number three, fueling what drives us to succeed. And staying true to who you are, no matter what it is you're doing. Join me now as I sit down with Gary and we talk about the things that are related to manning up in business. So here we are. We are out by Tabiona, Utah, and we are at the Skyrider Wilderness Ranch with none other than the Gary Young, founder and chairman of the board for Young Living Essential Oils.
Yeah.
He's been kind enough to grant me an interview for the Man Up Project. And the piece we're talking with Gary on is business. There's a very special reason that I've asked Gary to do this part. Where he started Young Living and where it has grown to now. And I'm not going to tell this. I'm going to let this come forth in Gary's own words, because to me, it's nothing short of astounding.
Yeah.
So once you guys hear this story, you'll know why I picked it. So Gary, let's give just a little background for the readers on how you started and where Young Living is now.
Yeah. Well, Scott, it's some ways, when I think back, it's almost like it's a dream.
Yeah.
You know, I don't spend much time looking back, and I don't spend much time thinking back, but when I do, because somebody asks me a question or we reminisce like we always do a little bit, it's like it's a dream. Because it was a tough start. You know, number one, nobody had ever marketed essential oils in the world before outside of the perfume and fragrance and flavoring industry. It had never been marketed. And when I talked to people about it, they just laughed at me. You know, said, "You're crazy. You can't market something like that." And so there was no real support. Even the person that I was married to at that time, absolutely just, no, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, building a business in the 20th century is not like it used to be in the old days. You know, in the old days, all it took was tenacity and grit, and you could build a business.
Yep.
But now, all the rules and regulations and compliance stuff that you got to go through, it's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the money. And so it was just work. And I was a one-man band for 2 years. Take the phone call, package the order, ship it out. Mop the bathroom, you know, fill the peanut bin after filling all 6 orders for the day.
Right.
You know, then get on the plane Friday afternoon and fly out to Dallas or Kansas or wherever and do meetings for the distributors, you know, all 20 of them.
All 20 of them.
And I'd generally I'd get out where I could do a meeting on Friday evening. And then I'd take a flight, or a lot of times I would drive. You know, sometimes Nancy and Eldon would meet me, and then they'd drive me to the next town. So we could do a meeting Saturday morning, and then next town to do a different meeting, or a meeting in a different town Saturday evening, and then another one Sunday morning, and then get on a plane and fly back home to take orders Monday morning.
Yep.
And it was a challenge, and while I was doing this, I'm trying to build St. Mary's at the same time. And there was no support from anybody around me. You know, I eventually grew to where I had 2 employees after the second year. And they also would just look at me and say, "You're crazy, this is not going to happen." I think there's a lot of that sort of thing that goes on in everybody's life. And I really believe that's why a lot of people, you know, will have an idea and mature it to a point of starting and then quitting. Because they get the outside feedback, "You can't do it, it won't work, this is stupid, you're better to be working a 9-to-5 job, And they give you all this justification. And because we're human, we like other people's approval. So our way of getting that approval is by listening to what they say. And that was where it was different for me. I didn't really care what their opinion was, because they weren't doing it for the reason that I was. It wasn't their project, and they didn't know what I was doing anyway.
Yeah.
So why listen to somebody tell me I couldn't do it? So I just turned a deaf ear to it and just keep working. And yeah, it was harder. It was a lot of sleepless nights.
So you started off, and I know some of the history of the company because I'm part of the company.
Yeah.
And it was that quarter-acre plot in Spokane. And from where it was, where are we now? Where is Young Living now? What have you taken it to from that quarter-acre plot?
Yeah. Well, in acres, with 15 farms around the world now.
Yeah.
Scott, I've lost track of how many acres we're actually farming,
Yep.
but I know it's well over 20,000.
Wow.
And wildcrafting, over 100,000,
Wow.
with trees and helichrysum in Croatia and eucalyptus ocotea in Ecuador. You know, it's huge. And monetary-wise, it went from a little company in Spokane, Washington that was making our biggest month there. My biggest month in Spokane before I moved was $80,000. Now our biggest month's $120 million.
Wow. That's an incredible, mind-boggling number. And you had mentioned you had 20 distributors.
Yeah.
How many distributors do we have now in Young Living?
2 million.
2 million.
2 million worldwide.
So now I think people are going to start to kind of get an idea of why I've chosen you for that whole, in the book, you know, the man up piece of what it looks like to man up in business.
Yeah.
And we've had a little bit of talk, you know, over the years of what the state of men kind of are becoming and have become.
Yeah.
When I say manning up in business, what type of thing does that bring to the forefront of your mind? What type of thoughts does that bring for you?
Well, number one is to man up is to know who you are. Every one of us have our own individuality and personality, our own ideals, dreams, visions, whatever. But the man up part is having the guts to stand up against all opposition and persevere when you're being told you're crazy.
That's awesome. I mean, that's exactly it. So it doesn't really necessarily mean that I've got to be ruthless
Right.
in business. It doesn't mean, so there's that saying out there, nice guys finish last.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you in business? I mean, because quite honestly, I've been around you and you're kind of a nice guy.
Well, thank you.
So obviously you haven't finished last.
Yeah.
What do you think of when somebody says, well, nice guys just finish last?
Well, I think the person that made that comment was jealous of a nice guy.
Yeah.
But it's not, in my opinion, it's not a true statement. You know, nice guys finish wherever their passion's at. And, you know, if it's last, it's because their passion was lacking.
Okay.
But a man that lives his life based on honesty and integrity, he can choose where he wants to finish at. And he can choose what he wants to accomplish and at what speed he wants to accomplish it. It's not about finishing last or because I'm a nice guy, I'm timid, you know, I'm a slacker, I sit back, I let people walk on me. That's not what it's at.
Right.
You know, the best businessman in the world can still be a good man.
So if I'm completely understanding what you're saying is that people seem to think that in order to be a nice guy, you have to be a doormat.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. That's just a doormat.
Exactly.
A nice guy can still be strong in his convictions, strong in who he is and his morals, his beliefs, and still a fierce competitor.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. In this next segment, I talk with Gary about his motivation and what drives him to succeed. And as always, Gary had some great insights to share with us. Motivation. I mean, to get where you've gone, obviously takes some sort of motivation and takes some kind of action. When you look at what has motivated you and spurred you into action to get to where you are today, because I think that's part of manning up, is understanding that piece.
It is.
For you, what was that?
Scott, a lot of it for me is intuition.
Okay.
I think in order for any man to step up to the plate and go against the odds, so to speak, or do what other people look at as the impossible, is really, it's all about them and what their dream is, and do they believe in themselves. And I had a couple of motivation factors, and one was I didn't want to ever live like I was raised. I didn't want my kids to live like I was raised. I didn't want them to experience life the way I did. I felt there was more to life. I had a different philosophy, perhaps a different belief, and that was that I didn't believe, as a lot of Christian people do, that God sent me here to be punished. I believe that He sent me here to achieve my full potential. But it was up to me to do that. He didn't say it was going to be easy, but He said it would be worth it. And so there was a lot of factors involved. And so what made the difference for me is I would look at something like the essential oils. When I first discovered them in 1985, the real oils, not the perfume stuff that I got introduced to in 78. But the real oils in Geneva at the university, when I experienced that for the first time, I just felt that there was something here that was a gold mine, that it was something that God had given us, and why it had never been mined, I don't know.
Right.
But that's why I said the intuitive part of it. I just felt intuitive. I didn't know enough to really make an intelligent decision.
Yep.
I just felt in my gut, in my heart, this was the right direction to go. And the opposition was horrible. It was horrible. But once I made up my mind that this was the right direction for me, to heck with everybody else, it was the right direction for me to go in, then I started studying it. I wanted to learn and know everything there was to know about essential oils. That's why I traveled to Turkey and studied GCMS, and I volunteered for years in the fields in France and in Egypt, learning to plant, learning to cultivate, learning to grow, harvest, learning distillation. I didn't feel that I could make a good decision unless I knew everything that I could learn. So part of it was to learn, to research, to study. It's just like, Scott, if you were going to go buy a new chiropractic practice, let's say, you wouldn't just walk in and write the guy a check. You'd want to look at his books. You'd want to look at his client flow. You'd want to look at the fallout. You'd want to look at the retention rate. You'd go through every aspect before you'd decide whether you're going to buy that practice or not.
Right.
You know? And because there was nothing for me to look at, I had to go find it a piece at a time.
Right.
But the blessing of that is that was part of my education. But every time I would go and work in the distillery in France or Egypt, where were the two main places, I'd get more passionate about it because the intuitive feeling just got more intense. And then when I go and I was studying the GC mass spec and analysis and the chemistry part of it, I get more excited again. So when you're on the right track and you start studying it and researching it, that will convince you that you're on the right track, and your passion will grow equivalent. So it's study, research, learn all there is about it, and then start putting together a plan. And this is where I see people lose it, is they'll get excited, they'll study it a little bit, they'll say, maybe I'll try it, maybe I'll try it. Right. And they'll delve into it for a little bit, and this is quite a bit of work, maybe it's not quite what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And they start doubting themselves and start questioning, and they quit. But when you have a dream and you have a passion and you have an idea that has value, and that was the thing for me, it had to have value for the people of the world, not just me alone. I couldn't get passionate about something just for myself. But when I could see the value it had for the world, it drove the passion. And people say, well, Gary, did you get excited? And I said, yeah, I got excited. But there's a difference between excitement and passion. Excitement is like, I like to refer to it as the igniter on a propane stove. You know, you hold the button down, you strike the match, and the little pilot light comes on. That's excitement.
Yep.
But as soon as you take your thumb off from it, the pilot light goes out. But if you hold your thumb on it long enough for the gas to get there, then it'll ignite the whole unit.
Yep.
That gas coming in is passion. And once that passion ignites, now you got a stove you can cook on, you got hot water or whatever,
Yep.
and it'll continue to burn until you turn it off. And so you use the excitement to ignite the passion.
Gotcha.
And once that's lit, then it's just hang on. But you've got to take it further. You've got to take it to action. And when you go from the study, the research, the identifying of the project and what it is that you're following the path on, and it's all good. But if you don't convert all of that into an action plan, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So, and that conversion part is where people drop it.
Would you say that people, because I agree 100% in that action piece, and I think some people can even get almost, they get past all the other stuff and into that action, and now that's where it becomes hard.
Yeah.
That's where they get the doubters. That's where they get the difficulties of something may not go as they thought it would.
Yeah.
And what helps you, would you say, when you've been talking, alluding to something I think which is really important, which is that purpose piece. And that purpose piece, how does that help you maintain that action? Even when you go, wow, this is tough.
Absolutely. And that's part of life. And I believe, Scott, just from my experience, it comes back to that self-worth.
Yep.
Because if you don't know who you are and you don't have a strong ideal about who you are and what you can do, that's when you'll cave in when people start telling you it's crazy.
Gotcha.
Or you can't do it. Because when you start that action plan, nothing ever goes as it was planned.
Right?
And in many cases, it will go almost the opposite way, as if the universe is telling you, okay, you want to try this, we'll take it on, but you're going to find out it's not all that great.
Right.
And I look at that, for me, the tougher it got, the more determined I got.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it and saying, oh, geez, I can't do this, I look at it and say, watch,
Yeah.
watch. Because to me, I took it as a challenge, you know, almost a personal challenge that I can do this. And another part for me that really helps drive me is when I see something like that, I say to myself, and this is justification, perhaps, but it works. So you've got to find what works.
Yeah.
And mine was a justification that if God didn't want me to do this, He wouldn't have put it in my path.
Yep.
And if it wasn't good, it would disintegrate quickly. It's kind of like having a dream. You go to bed, you go to sleep, you have a dream, and you get all excited about whatever the dream is, and you wake up the next morning and you can't even remember the dang dream. All you remember is being excited about it. Or you'll go to bed and you'll have a dream, and you'll wake up the next morning, and you write the dream down because it was so real, it was so vivid, it was so colorful, it was so action-packed, and it felt so real that you never forgot one tiny piece of it. And then you started telling your friends, your wife, your spouse, whatever. That, I don't look at that as a dream. To me, that's a vision.
Okay.
And there's a big difference. And so I've learned over the years, and I wake up having a dream, and it's still with me at that same intensity, then it's real, and I need to build on it.
Let's say, as we go through life, many of us when we're younger, we may not know what it is we want. That piece of being able to identify that.
Yeah.
And for some of us, we get married,
Yeah.
we have kids, life happens, right? How, if you had to think about this question, how do you determine whether you need to go after a dream, or whether you need to take care of what needs to be taken care of now, in this immediate future, and go after your dream later? What does that look like?
When you're in a marriage, it's not all about you all of a
Right.
sudden. And when you go to your spouse and say, you know, I have this idea, I'd really like to pursue it. And you might get the response back, well, do you really think at this stage in our life where we're just starting a family, you should be quitting your 9-to-5 job and starting your own business?
Yeah.
And that is a very typical response, you know, from a spouse. Our responsibility is, if we feel this dream really has value, because there's a lot of dreams that, you know, don't. But if we feel this dream has value, and what I've done, as I said earlier, is I really study it out. Even today, when I have a dream about something that I want to do, like dog racing,
Yeah.
you know, I talked it over with Mary, and she just absolutely, you know, knew that I'd lost it.
Yeah.
At your age, with the problems you've had, why would you want to go at 40 below and race dogs in Alaska?
Right.
That is insanity. Mary didn't say you shouldn't do it or you can't do it. She's very clever. She'd say, there's other things you could be doing of more value.
Right.
So she knows how to plant that little guilt in there that caused you to question. But I feel our responsibility to our family, if we have a dream, it's not about postponing the dream, because it may never come again.
Yep.
Life is a window of opportunities. And when one window closes, another one will open, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a better window.
Right.
And at the same time, it could be. But I believe that when a door opens, it opens for the purpose of walking through it, because you're going to explore another world. And there'll be more doors behind that one. But our responsibility is to sit down with our family and sell them on the idea of the dream. So they're in unison, they're in harmony in supporting it. And in working out the plan and saying, okay, I got this idea, and I really want to do it. I just feel so much passion about it. But how can we do it in our lifestyle that we have today? And so it's about, Mary calls it reality. Looking at that part of reality that I don't believe in, but finding the balance of where you can pursue your dream without putting it aside, but pursue it at a pace that will have a good outcome for everybody involved.
Or that whole piece of you're winning because you're pursuing your dream,
Yeah.
but your family is still winning because you're not putting the family at risk or
Exactly.
or putting them in harm's way,
Yeah,
financially or emotionally or physically, to achieve something
Yeah.
that you want. You're not being selfish.
exactly.
Very cool.
So it's all about synchronization, timing, and harmony. Because if your family is not in support of what you're doing, then the opposition will start to diminish your passion.
Very true. So, Gary, if you had anything else, any other kind of advice to give men in manning up in business, what would that be? This is your time, your floor to say, men, here's what you need to be doing.
Yeah. The number one greatest thing that any person can do, man or woman,
Yep.
is spend time getting to know who you are and developing yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is your greatest investment, is investing in yourself. With that, it develops your self-worth, it develops your character, it develops your commitment. And if you're going to man up to anything, if it's just building a Young Living business, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, it takes time. And along that process, and Scott, you know it because you've done it. along the way, there's a lot of people saying, you're crazy. I'll bet when you sold your chiropractic practice, there were people saying, have you lost your flipping mind?
Yep.
And, what are you going to do now? What are you? And all kinds of things are said. The best thing you can do is invest in yourself, trust in yourself, and live your dream.
I honestly I can't put any better advice out there. And honestly, it doesn't, this is the business section.
Yeah.
But if you do that piece alone, and so many of these things overlap.
Yeah,
All of
they do.
life overlaps. Yeah. If you can do that piece of advice right there, investing in yourself, figuring out who you are, moving forward with yourself, the rest of it falls into place.
Yeah. Well, and the key to that for me, along with that, is, and I did this in the past, when we're young and we get passionate about things, we don't always think of the other people. Mm-hmm. And we outpace ourselves. And we move ahead of our spouse, we move ahead of our children. And that becomes a very big detriment. Mm-hmm. So part of that counsel would just be in always keeping in mind who is around you. And as I said earlier, it's our responsibility to sell them on the idea that they support it. Mm-hmm. They may not necessarily agree. Like Mary didn't agree with me going and running the dogs in Alaska at 40 below. Yeah. But she supported me.
And she understood you.
She supported me and she understood because I took time to talk to her about it. And just like I said, come to Alaska with me and just see. Yeah. And yeah, I know it's not your thing because you like 80 degrees, not 80 below. Right. But, we're all different. Yeah. But the value is I brought her along so she was part of the journey, mm-hmm. part of the equation. And when I decided to build out the kennel here at the ranch, and I sat down with her and I shared with her my plans, my ideas. And the thing that's really fun is when they start giving you ideas, mm-hmm. then you know you've won. Yeah. And I laugh about it and I tease her a lot. I said, in fact, when Jared got married, he asked me, he says, Gary, if you could give me some advice as a young married man, what would it be? And I says, always let it be your wife's idea.
Yep. Sage advice. Sage advice. That's exactly it.
And so it is. I mean, anything that has value has the value to bring your loved ones with you. And guys, if you're out there building your Young Living business or your wife and you're the support person, there's not a place on earth, there's no place you can go and create what you can in Young Living and do it as a family together. Yeah. It's just, and
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's win-win.
It is. Well, I think that's going to do it. And Gary, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Always.
Very much.
Always. Thank you, Scott.